Hey everyone. Okay, so normally I do this video, the channel behind the camera. I record the audio, I put in a bunch of video clips, I get copyright claims, and then I have to go back and, file a complaint and then post the video on YouTube. So what happened recently is I started my review of the film White Heat and went on and on and on, did this big production, 30 minutes of me just blabbing away. And I start putting it together, compiling it, to get the final finished video, and it crashes. And I lose everything, basically. I've been using the software VSDC. It's kind of a cheap, free software. I like it, and I've used it for the last, 100 or so videos. I don't use a lot of bells and whistles. I just kind of cobble together reviews however I like them, and I don't need all the special zoom, zoom, zoom effects and stuff. I just blab about films that I like, you know, fade in, fade out, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I had this all done. I had, half-hour review ready to upload, and it crashed. I've tried to contact their technical support. I haven't heard back. It's pretty much lost forever. And when it happened, I said, fiddlesticks. And I don't feel like redoing the whole thing again. So I'm going to do something a little different this time. And I'm just going to talk through my script that I wrote. Yeah, this one might be boring, so give it a thumbs down and move on if you want. I don't care. It's fine. But I'm going to just do this one time. And then next time I'm going to get back to doing it behind the camera like I normally do. So I'm actually just going to open my script here on my laptop. So if you see me kind of darting over and looking and stuff, it's just because I'm reading it. And I don't care if I cough or sneeze or rub my nose. I just want to get this done, basically. I want to fix this and upload this because, I'm really bummed. I love this film. I've reviewed it before. I'm actually going to delist my old review, which was kind of simplistic, and kind of go into a longer review. So I will talk, and then I will take the video. I'll probably put a couple little screenshots in it so I avoid copyright claim issues this time. I don't want to do a lot of live video, from the film. I'm just going to do a couple screen captures. And let's just get through this one, okay? I spent all this time writing this stupid review, and I was really heartbroken when it crashed and I lost it. So, whatever. It's the price you pay, I guess, if you don't back up as meticulously as I probably should. But like I said, VSDC is the software I use. Normally, no issues. Normally, I can just, do my thing, save it, compile it, upload it. Everything's happy. So it didn't work this time. So anyhow, I'm going to start talking about the movie White Heat. Came out in 1949. It's a crime classic. Like I said, I've reviewed it before, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper this time. So I'm going to talk about the film. Basically, I love everything about it. This is James Cagney at his finest as this crazy dude, top of the world ma, He plays this mentally unstable, mom-obsessed gangster in this film. And he is married to Virginia Mayo, who is this gorgeous but unfaithful wife of his. And even my hero, Edmond O'Brien, that I always blab about in these reviews, he shows up in this film as an undercover agent as well. So it's really a great film. And let me just kind of go through it. It's directed by Raoul Walsh for Warner Brothers. Raoul? Yeah, whatever. And it's definitely a classic. So I'm going to do like I normally do. I'll give a kind of a high-level summary of the film, and spoiler-free, of course, and then I'll kind of go through some trivia and things I learned about the film, and just kind of some closing thoughts, my impressions of the film and why I enjoy this one so much. So, I don't know, can you hear the cat purring in the background? Here we go. Say hello to the viewers at home. Yeah, okay. So, the film opens up, and it's basically right into the action. There's a train heist that's going on, and it's led by the character Cody Jarrett. This is a character played by James Cagney and his gang. So they get this train to stop, they open it, they get the loot out of it, and we can really see here that Cody, initially, he's a very cold-blooded character. One of the engineers spots him, and he's like, "You'll never get away with this, Cody!" And then, seeing that this engineer knows who he is, he guns him down. So, right at the beginning, we can see, don't mess with this guy. So, one of Cody's henchmen is there, and because the engineer had fallen and knocked a lever, some hot steam blew out into his face and kind of like, nailed him in the face. He's crawling on the ground. It was a white heat, I guess you could say. So, anyhow, they leave the scene. They go back to a mountain hideout, and it's here that we are introduced to the character of Ma Jarrett. She's played here by actress Margaret Wycherley. And again, Cody's gorgeous wife, Verna, who's played by Virginia Mayo. And also with the gang is this character, Big Ed Summers. He's played by actor Steve Cochran. He's a very kind of sinister character. He's kind of scheming, and you can see he doesn't really care too much for Cody and may have an interest in his wife. So this guy's a little bit shady. So anyhow, the gang, we see at this point, Cody's a little weird. He's a little unbalanced, and he gets these like screaming migraines where he's flinging on the floor and he's yelling, and it's his mom that can kind of comfort him and bring him back to normal again. And it's kind of an interesting thing. I'll talk more about it at the end of the review, but you're not really sure if he's doing this for like attention or if this is a serious mental condition he has where he really does have these screaming migraines. It's kind of weird, but more on that later. So yeah, coffee. Let's get it, baby. So, Verna's relationship with Cody, it's kind of a weird one. She does seem kind of warm and loving to him, but at the same time, I think she's just all about the money, and that's all she really wants from this guy. Early in the film, she's just saying to him, like, hey, let's just take all this money from this heist, and we'll run off together, and so on, things like that. But you'll see the relationship gets a little bit more weirder, more strained as we get further into the film. So the gang moves on. It's a cold, windy day outside now. Zucky was the character who was badly burned with the white heat spraying in his face. He's in this cottage. He's all like bandaged up like Claude Rains from the Invisible Man, like the old school, you look like a mummy. And they are basically going to leave him behind. Cody says, hey, he'll send back a doctor. But once they're outside, Cody sends in one of the guys, character Cotton, actor Wally Castle, and says, basically, go back in and shoot him. So, again, you see sort of the cold-blooded nature of this character, Cody. I mean, he's a creepy little guy, and he's willing to just kind of abandon one of his faithful men there on the spot. So this guy, Cotton, goes back in. He's there with, Zucky by himself. Takes a gun, kind of shoots it in the air, makes the sounds, but he spares the guy and, leaves him with some ciggies, and he promises he'll come back later to help him out. However, a little bit later, we're at a morgue, and we have the character. It's Investigator Evans. He's played here by actor John Archer. I've seen him in other films that I've reviewed on this channel, like King of the Zombies. Yeah, that was a great one. And apparently, this character Cotton, the guy that was burned, he had died. He froze to death in a cabin. So they were able to kind of deduce from this that he was part of that train heist from earlier because of the steam injuries on his face. So the investigation's on, and this is kind of their first lead, and so on. Cody heads to his new hideout, and Verna's there. She's putting on a fur coat, looks gorgeous. But what's weird is Cody seems like disinterested in his wife and how beautiful she looks, and he's more interested in like, where's Ma? I need to see Ma. Well, Ma is at the marketplace. She's getting some strawberries. Verna teases him and says like, yeah, she had to go get some berries for her boy, stuff like that. And Cody doesn't like the ribbing at all, but whatever. Ma's at this marketplace. She's getting some berries, and then she drives off. Now, the investigators, they're in pursuit. They're following her out. Now, she's not just like this dear little frail old granny who's just like, oh, dear, got to get home. She notices there's the tail, and you see her kind of looking in the mirror and stuff, and she manages to lose them. And it's really kind of clever. She's just kind of evades them around a car that's backing out, and you see her kind of smiling as she's like managed to dodge and get away from them. However, the investigators had tied a cloth to the back of her car when she was at the market. So ultimately, they're able to track her down to the hideout where she is at. Hang on a second. Let me make sure this is actually recording the audio. La 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 la. Yes, it is. Okay. So like I said, I did a half-hour review. It was all done. I don't want to do it again. So I'm just going to talk. And if I need to clear my throat or take breaks to drink coffee, well, whatever. Just this one time, audience, my 3 fans, please bear with me. I'll get back to doing videos the way I used to, okay? Just... Okay. So the investigators, they're after the gang, and they have to make another quick exit. Now, Cody, at this point, shoots one of the investigators, and they make their escape. And, they're driving, basically, the investigators are in pursuit of these, Cody, Ma, and Verna. They're driving away, and they're able to escape them. They elude them by going into one of these old-fashioned drive-in theaters. It looks really cool in the film, by the way. I'll put some screenshots here probably, but I just love the old drive-in movie theaters. It's so cool. So they hide there, and while they're there, kind of just hiding out, waiting for the coast to clear, this is where Cody shares his scheme, and it's kind of an interesting one. And I actually asked my aunt about this, who practices law, and she says it could happen. So basically, he knows another guy who he's up for a rap for a lesser crime in Illinois. Hang on, I'm going to let the cat out. There you go. Going out. Meow, 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 meow. Ah. So he's got this other guy in Illinois. He's up for a rap for a lesser crime. And it would only be like a 2-year sentence versus, a much more considerable punishment for this train heist, remember, from the beginning of the film. So Cody's scheme is to take the rap for this lesser crime in Illinois. And Ma's all behind it. It's like, sure, okay, it's only 2 years. You'll get out. And so he's off to Springfield. I used to live in Springfield. I don't think I'd want to go back there again. I worked at a family video there, and yeah, not my favorite place. Hey, Frankenstein's doing kind of like a weird... Hi, audience. Okay, sorry. So, yeah, my subscriber count... Yeah, just hit that unsubscribe button. Well, anyhow, let's move on. So Cody's going to go ahead with his scheme, and he turns himself in, and this makes the newspapers. Now, Inspector Evans, he sees what's going on. He interviews Ma. Ma's sticking to the story, that Cody had this alibi. He was off in Illinois, and he couldn't have done this train heist. Inspector sees through it, obviously, because he was shot by Cody. But Ma's like, I think you need to have a witness to verify that. So all this to say is they get away with it. Cody goes into lockup, and he's in Illinois, on Joliet. Did I say that right? Is it Joliet? Whatever. He's in lockup. Now, here's where Inspector Evans has a scheme. He's not going to just let Cody get away with this. He brings in undercover agent Hank Fallon. It's played here by my hero, Edmond O'Brien. And although Fallon, he's ready to just take a break. He's been doing a lot of undercover stuff. He's kind of lamenting. He just wants to sit under a shady tree and do some fishing and stuff. But Evan says, nope, need you on this one. You got to come work undercover. So basically what he's going to do is he's going to take on this fake identity of the character Vic Pardo. Sounds like a game show host. And he is going to be put into Cody's cell in federal lockup. Now, his job is to find out where Cody hid this $300,000. He hid it somehow without any of it showing up. So the inspector thinks that he's got some sort of a fence that arranged the deal. Someone who took the money from him and was laundering it away. So not only does he want to get Cody, he wants to get, who his fence is. Who's the guy that's kind of helping him with the money laundering, his money man or whatever you call it. So that's what Hank's job is going to be undercover, is to try to unravel that and obviously don't get made. And I know I go on a lot about the man undercover elements in these old films. I really love it. I think it's great. The suspense that sort of hangs over the film, where you're wondering, is he going to get away with it or not, or can they see right through the disguise? So that's sort of what's happening here. So he agrees to go undercover Sorry, I'm just moving my script here. This is a very sloppy review. I'm sorry. Again, I'll get back to a normal. The next one will be Tarzan, and I'll do a nice, clean review. So don't worry. So anyhow, while they're going through a list of inmates, that could jeopardize this mission, Fallon sees a guy he may know from before. It was somebody he had arrested named Beau Creel, actor Ian McDonald. And so this is somebody he had arrested a long time ago, but turns out he's going to be getting out soon, so he should be okay. And there shouldn't be a problem with recognition. Or will there be? So anyhow, Evans shares how Cody is a little bit nutty. His dad had died in an institution, and Cody's someone that as a child he used to fake these headaches and everything to get his mom's attention away from the rest of the family. And Evans, I'll just kind of read the quote here from the film. It's basically, it worked. And as he grew up, his fancied headaches became real until now they tear him to pieces. So, he's sort of aware that he's going into the cell with somebody who's, potentially psychopathic, So anyhow, Cody's sentenced, he goes off to prison, and soon enough, we see all the guys there in lockup. Hank shows up, tries to build a friendship with Cody. But initially, obviously, he's got to build some trust. It's just not there yet. So Hank gets in line to get some shots. And wouldn't you know it, while he's in line, he sees that character, Beau Creel. Remember the guy that he had arrested years before. And to avoid notice, Hank just starts a fight with the guy in line and winds up in solitude. Now, bring this up because Cody sees this, and maybe he's thinking, okay, maybe this guy's real. He's a real thug who likes to fight or whatever. So after his stint in solitary, Hank is returned to the cell with Cody. And I really love this scene here. It's basically Cody and the other guys, they've been going through his cell, his stuff that has arrived, like his photos and his personal possessions and stuff. And there's this brief moment where you think that maybe his cover was blown. Cody is like, you thought you could fool us, did you, huh? And you kind of see Hank's face. He's like, oh, crud. But it's not that at all. It's basically he's teasing him. Cody's teasing him and saying, so you thought you could get out of getting your shots with the fight. So, whew. So he's still okay. He's undercover. His cover's not been blown yet. But I love little teases like that because you see Hank's face. He's like, oh, man. So anyhow, they're in lockup. Now, we cut back to a scene where it's Ma. She's there with the remainder of the gang. So Cody's in lockup, remember. And Ma's all business. She's not like this little frail, oh, dear. She is very much no, we're going to wait for Cody to get out, and then everyone can get their money and so on. But you see Ed. You remember the guy? He's sort of the schemer. He's got plans of his own, and he's got his eyes on Cody's wife, Verna. He tells her in secret that something fell out there. That's weird. He tells her in secret that he's got a scheme for an inside guy at the prison to take care of Cody so that he can get his money. And then he and Verna share some sugar together. That's not good. Come on. But Ma spots this going on out the window, so this could be a problem. So anyhow, back inside the big house, we have this character. This is the inside man, Roy Parker. Actor Paul Guilfoyle, who he's in this kind of machinery room, and he attempts to accidentally drop a piece of machinery on top of Cody. So this is all part of Ed's scheme, basically kill Cody in the big house. Now Hank spots this about to happen and jumps to save him. So Cody seems puzzled as to why, but Hank just sort of plays it off as he's just doing the right thing. So hold on a second. Let me move the phone just a tiny bit. Sorry. And for those 3 fans, maybe down to 2 who are sticking with me for this, I appreciate it. Look, the file crashed. It broke my heart. I was really sad. I said, oh, shucks. And I just don't want to put it all together again. It takes me a couple hours to, patch all these reviews together. So you know what? I just want to get through this one, okay? So bear with me. We don't have much further, okay? Everybody good? All right. So Hank saves his life, and I think he earns a little bit of Cody's gratitude at this point. So again, they're starting to build the friendship there. Now Ma comes to visit Cody in lockup and reveals that Ed and Verna have got a fling going on, and that Ed probably wants to get Cody knocked off, so he needs to be careful. And Ma leaves and says that she plans to take care of Ed, much to Cody's protest. It's like, Ma, don't do it. What are you thinking? So later back on the work floor, the noises of all these machines, they start to get to Cody. He does this, oh, thing, and he collapses on the floor with one of his weird headaches. And again, we don't know if it's real or all fake or mental or whatever, but Hank helps him to his feet. He's like, yeah, you'll be okay. He's kind of like rubbing his scalp or his neck or whatever. And basically, at this point, he's kind of built the friendship, built this relationship. So Cody and Hank are now, Cody can kind of, open up to Hank a little bit more. And it's later that day, he confides to Hank that he's planning his escape. But, Cody's escape involves, obviously, like shooting and killing. Now, Hank, being an undercover cop, he's got some connections and so on. So he shares that he's got an escape plan, and it will involve his wife, who's actually another undercover agent, that will help him get away. And it will not involve, shooting and killing people. So the next day, we get to this infamous scene. And I've watched this film a bunch of times. I actually love this movie. The library copy. Yeah, but I've seen it many times. And this is a scene where Cody, they're at the lunch table, and he gets the news that his mom has died. And what's kind of like very sad and mechanical about it is he doesn't get the news from, say, like the chaplain or like someone official. He has to get it from like the telephone game, where it's like, hey, what happened, blah, 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 and it like whispers down the line. So he asks, like, hey, how is Ma? Goes down the line, gets to a guy who basically says she's died. And then it comes back to him. And, if I had any one clip, other than the Top of the World Mom bit, this would be the one clip I would put in. And then I would get a copyright claim. And then I would have to write to Warner Brothers and say, hey, look, it's a great scene. Come on, it's for a review. I'm not going to do it. Go watch the film yourself to see this scene because it's great. The other thing is this scene is it's a couple minutes long, and I don't even think I could put it all into the review. But it's basically, I think, James Cagney at some of his finest acting, as he is at this lunch table, and he gets the news that his mom has died. And you remember, he's got that weird mom fixation thing. So just watching him as an actor here, it's brilliant. He just like breaks. He's just like howling, crawling across the lunch table. And he's just like, I got to get out. I got to get out. And he's like just freaking out. He's trapped in this cage and he gets the worst news imaginable. So again, the scene's brilliant. You could probably go on YouTube now and look up like James Cagney, White Heat, prison scene. I'm sure it's there, but it's brilliant. In fact, it's probably the highlight of the film to me, even more so than the big conclusion I'm not going to spoil. But yeah, I love it. And it's amazing. And you just watch like Hank Fallon, the undercover guy, and his expression. He's just like, what the heck is going on? Is Cagney's character is just like spazzing out. He can't take it anymore, and he's got to get out. So obviously, he gets apprehended by the police, the prison guards. He beats up a couple of them, but of course they restrain him eventually. And it's also it's a wild scene because there's just sort of like this silent observation of all of the other inmates in the room at the time. They're just kind of like watching what the heck is going on. It doesn't lead into this huge cafeteria riot or anything. It's just this one guy who's broken, trying to get out, and he's lost it. And he gets subdued. They put him in a straitjacket. But basically what starts to happen is, he's used a smuggled gun, and he's able to take the doctor hostage. So along with Fallon, that Parker guy, and a couple other convicts, they make their escape that night. So they get out of town, they find a place to stay, they tie up the doctor, and they make their move. And, Cody's just kind of walking around eating a chicken leg. And Parker, remember the guy that tried to crush him earlier with the machinery? He's in a trunk of a car. And he's like, it's kind of stuffy in here. And then Cody says, I'll give you some air. Bang, 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 bang. And then shoots him and kills him in the trunk. So it's this crazy scene. Very cold, but that's kind of, as we've seen watching the film, this Cody character is pretty cold. I don't think the lighting is that great in this room, but yeah, whatever. Okay. So back at the original hideout, we got Verna. She's there with Ed, and they're both kind of paranoid. They know that Cody's out. He's going to be there soon, and they're kind of dreading the return. So they put like bells and stuff on the door to alert them that he's going to be there. But a little later that night, Verna tries to make an escape. She tries to get out through a window, almost gets to the car, and then Cody's there, and he grabs her. Obviously he's angry at her and her unfaithfulness. But she, of course, makes a lot of excuses. And then she blames Ed for killing Ma. Ooh, that's dark. Now, earlier we found out, it was actually Verna who had shot Ma in the back. So she had been in a lot of hot water if he found out. So she shifts the blame to Ed, the unfaithful guy. And Cody sneaks up, corners Ed, and he's about to make a run for it, but... Excuse me. But... Hey, I've been talking for a while. It's okay. 26 minutes. Anyhow, Cody catches up with Ed, guns him down, and then kicks his fallen body down the stairs. And it's like, catch, right as the other gang members arrive. It's great stuff. So the guys assemble and they start planning their next big heist. And, Verna wants to go to town to get a new radio, but Cody tells her to go read her comic books instead because nobody can leave. They're all kind of on a lockdown. So they're planning the next big heist. And this involves using an empty tanker truck. And they're going to use this to sneak the guys in. Cody's telling the story. Ma used to tell him about Troy and the Trojan horse. So it's kind of that sort of a principle. They're going to sneak in the back of this tanker truck. So this mysterious stranger arrives at this point. It's Daniel Winston, the traitor. This is actor Fred Clark. I've seen him in some other films as well. And he arrives to make these plans with Cody. So this is his inside man. We finally see Hank and the guys. They're outside. They're starting to get, restless. They're wondering what's taking Cody and this traitor so long. They've been in the house talking for like forever. So Hank goes inside and he thinks that this traitor guy's like a phony. He draws his gun, he's ready to shoot him and stuff. But he introduces himself. He meets the traitor and he basically describes that he is in securities. So he's the inside man who knows all the details of that place that they want to do this heist at. So later that night, Hank tries to sneak away into town. I think he wants to, get some information back to base camp or whatever. Now he's jumped by some of the baddies and even Cody is there and shows up. And Hank explains that he just wants to see his wife again. He misses her. But Cody understands. But still, he's not going to let him go. So the two of them talk for a while. And, talks about like what it means, how it feels to like, be lonely. And Cody goes on and on about his ma and how much she meant to him. Excuse me. I don't even know who is Ninja. Ninja. I got this at Walmart. I think it was on sale. But it's a good size coffee mug. That's a lot of coffee. So anyhow, Hank and Cody. At this point, the film kind of establishes the two of them are like, they're really good friends. At least that's kind of a Cody thinks of Hank. But Hank, he's still just the undercover man. So, he understands that he wants to go see his wife, but he's not going to let him, obviously. So they go back inside and then they have a drink. Now, Verna's there. She's pretty plastered by this point. Her radio is broken, and Hank sort of innocently offers to fix it. But a little later that night, we see in actuality, he's taking that radio and turning it into a tracking device that he can use on the truck. So he's kind of pulling a MacGyver here. And it's kind of all this fancy electronic doodad stuff that he has wired below the truck where the guys can't see it, the other bad guys. So the next morning, they all get loaded up. And, Hank's got the tracking device turned on with a little beep, 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 so they head out. And they have to stop at one point at a gas station because they have a smoking radiator. And Hank uses his opportunity to go into the bathroom, and he leaves a message on the mirror, which is kind of a risky play, considering one of the other guys might have popped in to use the bathroom, but he gets away with it. In fact, one guy almost comes in, and he hides the mirror with his coat last minute. So, phew. So anyhow, Cody meets with a traitor, and this is where he gets the details of the heist, and it's here that we see that he recruited Uh-oh. Remember that guy Beau Creel from earlier? He's been recruited as a driver. Now, Hank is not spotted yet. He's able to get into the back of the tanker with the other guys. But now we have that threat kind of lingering over our head right now that, uh-oh, this Beau Creel guy, he knows Hank. Could be bad. So they move on into their heist. But the police, they saw the message on the bathroom mirror. They know there's a tracking device, so they are in pursuit. And they use some of their high-tech tracking equipment to follow the signal. And all the while, they're back at the headquarters, and they've got a big paper map, and they're marking all the lines and everything on it of, where he's at. And finally, they track the truck to this big oil plant in San Pedro, and they move in. Now, Beau is able to infiltrate the payroll office. He punches some of the guards, and they move in. Now, it's around here that the cops start to arrive, a big group of them. So we're kind of building up to the big final scene here at this oil plant. So tons of cops are moving in on them. Now, it's around here that the guys, they're inside, and Beau recognizes Hank. So he's made. It's like, I know that guy. He is a cop, blah, blah, blah. So Hank grabs a shotgun, orders all the guys to freeze. And this is another really awesome scene, too, because it's Cody's character. He trusted this Hank guy, and he just seems really broken about it. It's almost like you can see tears in James Cagney's eyes. Almost. I don't know. They almost look a little watery. But, he's just tearing into Hank. He's like, a copper. How do you like that, boys? And we went for it. We went along with it all along. He says, like, I treated him like a kid brother, So, you can understand Cody's kind of brokenness about it. Really trusted this guy, Hank. But one of the other bad guys sneaks in, and they manages to bop Hank on the back of the head. So he's been subdued, and these criminals are going to all make their final play here. Now, look, there's very little of the film left. I don't want to spoil the ending. You have to see this one for yourself. This is a very popular film. If you have not seen it, you really need to, but you probably know the ending by now. I'm not going to give it away, but it's very epic. And let's just say things kind of end with a blast. But anyhow, let me wrap up with some closing thoughts here. White Heat was released in 1947. It was produced by Warner Brothers, and it was directed by Raoul Walsh, who had previously worked with Cagney on films like The Roaring Twenties, came out in 1939, and also The Strawberry Blonde in 1941. And, I have recently been watching a whole bunch of Anthony Mann, John Alton crime films. Really loved it. With a lot of the heavy black shadows and contrasts and like sparse lighting and so on. Like the sparse lighting coming from up here. But anyhow, it was kind of nice to take a break because the direction here, Walsh's direction, is a lot more brighter, cleaner, in comparison. And it's kind of nice to see some of that, like Los Angeles and California filming locations. They just look more open and clean. And I like his directing. It's a very clean storytelling. So that was kind of a nice little change of pace. White Heat was based on a story by Virginia Kellogg and adapted for screen by Ben Roberts and Ivan Goff, who had scripted other films for Cagney. And both of these writers would continue to work together, including being writers and producers responsible for a lot of crime-oriented TV shows like Charlie's Angels, Nero Wolfe, and even my current favorite show, Mannix, which I've been binging on Prime. I just really love it. But I hate the stupid little ads they're putting on Prime now. Like, oh, why do they have to do that? But Mannix. Yeah. So anyhow, for White Heat, filming began in May of 1949 and finished 6 weeks later and took place across several Southern California locations like the Santa Susana Mountains, and with some of the chase scenes. They also used the old Southern Pacific Railroad tunnel and train. They filmed in the Joliet prison, the Torrance Refining Company for that big shootout at the end, and obviously the Warner Brothers ranch and studios. I like the location footage. I always rant and rave about that in my reviews. I think they're great. So it looks really good. It's a very beautifully made film, and I love all the filming locations. As for the story, I really love this one. I've said before, I love the man undercover element. It's something I just love in old films because it happens and you never really have a sense of ease. There's always that hanging tension in the film. You wonder, is this undercover guy going to get away with it, or is something going to blow it? Is he going to get recognized by somebody? That always seems to be the one big thing that undoes these people, is they get recognized by somebody. It's like, I know you. You're a cop, you know? And so it's just a matter of time. So, and yeah, as usual, Edmond O'Brien, he's one of my favorite actors. I've seen him in gobs of films I've reviewed on this channel. And again, he's that sort of that everyman quality to him. He's somebody you can relate to. He's not overly glamorous or anything. He's just kind of this kind of fun, doughy guy. Kind of reminds me of me a little bit. I don't know, but you believe in him, and you really want him to be successful with this mission because, you know, you want him to get onto his fishing trip that he's been talking about. So, again, great stuff. And, all right, hang on. I got to scroll down a little bit here. And, yeah, the thing about with Hank, that his character is he sees a lot of Cody's, you know, interpersonal, his character, the demons that he's wrestling with, and you know, his confessions that he like talks to his dead mom and so on. And Hank plays it very sympathetically. You believe it. You know, he's a loyal friend to this guy as he's in the gang. You know, to the point of becoming someone that Cody trusts, you know, almost as his right-hand man. But as things come crumbling down at the end of the film, and Hank is, you know, he's very quick to kind of turn from all of that and go back into his old role as the lawman. So I love watching his films. And Virginia Mayo, wanted to make mention, she's a gorgeous actress and really does a great job here as that unfaithful mall character to James Cagney's character. You know, and it's interesting to watch her because initially it's all about like the money, money, money. But when Ed dies and it's like there's no way out for her, you get a sense that maybe she's drawn back to Cody again, maybe not, when she realizes there's really no way out for her. You know, you wonder if it is still just about the money, or maybe is she starting to fall for the guy? I mean, her character starts to get into heavy drinking by the end of the film. So maybe she's given up and realized she's trapped. It's kind of an interesting thing to watch, how her character sort of changes through the film. But she's a great actress here in the film, and obviously, I got to talk about James Cagney's Cody character. He's such a wild study. It's not enough to just say that he's crazy, although he certainly appears to be. He's also got that weird fixation with his mother, you know, almost preferring her to Virginia Mayo. So, you know, that's kind of disturbed. But I loved that storytelling that they did with the migraines, because you're never really sure if they're real or not. I mean, are these things that he's just faking to get attention? Did he fake them enough that they became real? Or does he just kind of keep doing it just for attention? And they're all pretend, and he's just doing it even as an adult. You don't really know. It was so crazy. And when he's in prison, he has one of those headache episodes around Hank, who helps him up and kind of massages his neck and so on. And you wonder, is this really happening, or is this just like a weird, like a mental sympathy ploy? And when I was reading about the background of the film, my understanding is the writers put that element in, but they never really explained it. They kind of keep the audience guessing if it's real or not. I thought that was pretty cool. So you can watch and you kind of judge for yourself what's going on. But, you know, regardless, even though the guy was like a cold-blooded killer, he's betraying his friends, he's no problems whatsoever with killing a train engineer on the spot, I still found myself sympathetic with the character. Especially with the prison scene, you know, when he gets the news that his mom died. You know, and that's, I don't know, just, that kind of got to me. I know he's a bad guy, and I know his fate's pretty much sealed in this movie, but all the same, it's so well acted that he is a very convincing, believable criminal, and yet you still sympathize with him. He's a guy that needs help, basically. So the character of Cody Jarrett was apparently based on New York murderer Francis Crowley. I did a little bit of research here. Some of the background is amazing, that the stuff they based this on. So Francis Crowley fought with the police in the spring of 1931 at the age of 18. He had a 3-month crime spree that ended in a 2-hour shootout with the New York Police Department, and he was executed in 1932. However, the real-life crime story goes even further with this film. So White Heat was originally intended to be based on the true story of Ma Barker, who was a bank robber from the early 1900s. She had 4 sons, all involved with crime. And ultimately, they changed the film, so it's not Ma Barker in the film, it's Ma Jarrett. And she only has 2 sons in the film, with Arthur Barker becoming Arthur Cody Jarrett, with the weird mother fixation. And the Ma Barker story, I mean, it's wild. There's so many videos on YouTube. I can try to give a quick summary here, but some of the biography, the documentaries on the Ma Barker family, they're just really cool. You should go check them out after this. But quick high level, Kate Barker, born in 1873 in Ash Grove, Missouri. She married, had 4 kids. The kids all sort of found their way into a life of crime. The eldest son, the sons are all Herman, Lloyd, Arthur, and Fred. Herman would kill himself to avoid prosecution after committing a robbery when he had shot a police officer. A lot of the sons would wind up in prison by 1928. Her husband would leave, and Ma Barker would live in poverty for many years while her sons were in lockup. And things would change spring of 1931 when Fred was released from prison, and he brought fellow prison inmate Alvin Karpus home, and they formed the Barker Karpus gang. And they would use Ma Barker's shack as a hideout. So they would get involved with crimes. They shot a sheriff, and this led to more things like robbery, kidnapping, murder. I mean, this is a rough gang, this family. And it was around here that Ma Barker was recognized as an accomplice to the gang. And you watch these stories, it's hard to tell how much her involvement really was, if a lot of that was maybe manufactured by the media and the press, or if she was really the mastermind behind the gang. A little later, September 32, Arthur and Lloyd were released from prison. They joined Fred and Alvin, and I think there was a streak of crimes in the St. Paul, Minnesota area with more kidnapping. They also worked with a corrupt police chief of the city. Crazy stuff. So Arthur Barker, he was arrested by the FBI in Chicago in 1935, and authorities found a map tracking the other gang members to a hideout in Ocklawaha, Florida. And they learned that Ma Barker and Fred were there. So this kind of gets to the big shootout everybody's probably heard about, where the agents surrounded the house in the morning of January 16th, 1935, demanding their surrender. There was an exchange of gunfire. Police used tear gas, rifles, machine guns, and after about a 4-hour gun battle, the house became quiet. And they soon made sure that Ma and Fred were dead. So that's, again, man, there are so many documentaries that go so much more into detail. I just wanted to kind of give a high-level background. This was the basis of where they got the Ma character, and Cody kind of draws from this story, this real-life story, and it's almost more of a story than what was in this film. It's crazy stuff. And even J. Edgar Hoover apparently wanted to take down Ma Barker, called her the most vicious, dangerous, and resourceful criminal brain of the last decade. So yeah, I live in Florida, actually. Ocklawaha is a few hours north of here, so might be interesting to visit someday. I think they have a museum there. Maybe you can see some of the bullet holes. It's probably haunted, but it'd be kind of fun to see sometime. I think it's a little bit north of Orlando, so it's a hike for me, but I'd like to go. So anyhow, the character of Ma Jarrett, I thought she was great in this film. It's played by actress Margaret Wycherley. She's not like this helpless old granny, like, oh, let me do my crochet. No, she was like this very clever, witty, like shrewd old woman who is like barking out orders, and she's able to evade the police and so on. And I thought she was great here, And it's really interesting. If you want to watch Margaret Wycherley in a completely different role, watch her in the movie Sergeant York from 1941 with Gary Cooper. She plays this very sweet and loving mother to, the Sergeant York character. So it's kind of funny to see both sides of that. So, oh, my 3 fans, you've made it. I've been blabbing on for about 45 minutes. I have gotten through the review, only cleared my throat a couple times. So let me wrap this one up. White Heat came out in 1949. It was produced by Warner Brothers. Excellent direction by Raoul Walsh. And James Cagney is just at his finest here. It's a very explosive ending. I'm not going to ruin it, but you got to go watch it if you have not seen it. And I believe this was one of the big I could be wrong about this. Correct me in the comments, but I think this was the end of his run in these gangster films. You know, he was obviously known for the gangster films in the 30s, and I think this was one of the big. This is 1949. He was kind of coming to an end with playing these type of roles, and this is definitely the big way to end playing gangster films. He's very violent. He's very merciless, and it's a fascinating character study to watch. I just love it. And again, you feel sorry for him. You know, I couldn't help but be a little sympathetic watching his character through the film, especially the trust that he builds with the Hank Fallon character, Edmond O'Brien. And, he plays a really good, resourceful lawman who knows how to work undercover, how to do and say the right things to keep up a believable cover. And the story just keeps you captivated through this film. Really just loved everything about this film. So that is White Heat from 1949. If you have not seen this film, go check it out. It is an amazing crime masterpiece. It's definitely one worth checking out. And until next time, bye everybody!